Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Disney Resorts Podcast. My name's Kenny Hayes, and I am joined alongside, as always, by the one, the only, Walt Ramirez. It's going.
Hey,
It's going,
Ken. Hey,
Walt.
everybody.
It's
How's it
going.
going?
So, everybody, we want to thank you for joining us. And before we begin, we want to go over our topics for this week's show. First, we're going to be discussing some Disney news that just came out. That just came out recently. Then we're going to jump over to Genie Plus. Yet again, there are more changes coming to the awesome one and only Genie Plus. We're going to discuss some Cosmic Rewind news, the new attraction over at Epcot. Before we end the show, we're going to be talking about Walt's two late nights from our recent trip. One of them was at Epcot, and one of them was over at Hollywood Studios. And then we'll wrap up this week's episode with our dining review over at the California Grill. So, starting off with the news, Walt, Disney has announced, they announced recently that Hoop-Dee-Doo Review is finally going to return to Disney's Fort Wilderness Lodge. They have now announced the dates. As of June 23rd, the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review will return after a 2+ year hiatus. You could book your dining reservations for that restaurant beginning May 26th. The minimum pricing, if you're going to be sitting up in the balcony level for ages 10 and older, is $66 a person. And the cheapest, which would be the balcony level for ages 3 to 9, would be $39 a person. Now, Walter and I have both eaten there. I got to say, Walt, I am so excited that this show's returning. It's one of my all-time favorites. And for people out there who don't know, it's pretty much like an all-you-eat. They pretty much bring you kind of like a buffet. It's chicken, it's ribs, it's cornbread, it's what else am I missing, Walt? Is it like Matt? Okay, yes, that's right. I jumped the salad. I went right to the. Did I miss anything else in the food? What they offer?
No, I think that's it. The salad, the cornbread, and then they bring out the chicken. I think
it might be. I think it is. I think it is green beans, but the ribs are to die for. Sure. I really like them, and then they offered. There's a couple selections for alcohol, for your beer. I think they actually offer some type of wine too, and then of course like your coffees, your sodas, and stuff like that. So
yes,
if you've never seen the show before, you should definitely take advantage of this. This is one of my favorites. If the only thing you should be aware of is that since this is a show, depending on where you sit, they like to bring people and incorporate you into the show. So depending on where you sit, sometimes it's a little easier for them to come get you and bring you up on stage. So my experience when I went, I don't know about you, Walt, my family sat up on the balcony level, and we were pretty much straight on with the on the side of the stage. So no one came upstairs, no one bothered us. But they give you the instruments, like the washboard, and you get to make all the noises during the play. My dad had a blast. You should have saw him. I wish I had a video of it. He was going nuts with it. But you had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I would say,
yeah.
My only hang-up, if you want to call it a hang-up with the show, is getting there. I don't like the fact that, like, when you check in at the gate at Fort Wilderness, you then got to park, and then you have to wait at the bus stop, and then you have to take the bus all the way back to the show. And then, of course, at the end of the night, you got to bus back. But so that, to me, you and I are not transportation people. So I wish I could just drive right to it, park, get out, go in, come back out. But so that's my only hang up. Or even walk there. Yeah. I just don't like the fact waiting for the bus. But besides that, it's a great attraction. I'm so happy that Disney brought it back since, it's been closed since the start of the pandemic. What's your thoughts on it? How do you feel about this returning?
It's great that it's coming back. It's entertaining. It's a lot of fun to go. The food is very good, highly underrated. And it's almost like a value in a way for the ticket price, because you're getting the meal, all you can eat, and you're getting a show. And if you've never done it, I highly recommend it, and I would put it on your to-do list. And if you have done it, you obviously, you know what it's about. I personally would go back, just because it's a lot of fun.
Agreed.
And like I said, and the food's very good. You're going to get a better meal there than you will at most, quick service places. Definitely better than a quick service. And it's really borderline
Agreed.
pretty good, as a table service. It really is. I mean, it's there's really nothing on there that I thought, wow, this is, not that good. I could eat a bucket of the ribs by myself, and be a glutton if I wanted to. And again, all you could drink beer. If you're a Yingling drinker, you sit there and have a good time. And they probably want you to, because then you can be part of the show and make an ass out of yourself. But it's a lot of fun. It's a really entertaining evening. It's good for all ages. It's good for kids. But I agree with you. It is a little bit of a hassle.
Yeah, that's the only knock that I have.
Knock against it is a little bit of a pain. Yep, but it's good. I'm glad that those folks are coming back, and and looking forward to doing that.
Same here. I will second that. So if just wrapping that up, Hoop-de-Doo Review returns June 23rd, and make sure if you want to catch that, reservations open up again May 26th. So jump on all over that, because I think the reservations are going to fly, Walt. As soon as this goes live, it's going to go. All right, so we got one more piece of news that we want to bring to you this week. As you know, several months ago, the Trams finally returned to Disney's Magic Kingdom. They are now announcing that as of May 27th, Disney's Animal Kingdom, the Trams will return. Now, they have stated that the Trams are still going to return for Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And the last thing any of us have seen is sometime later this year. So there are no dates yet for either one of those parks to return. But like I said, Animal Kingdom returns the Trams beginning May 27th. I know you and I both know they cut services. Their services are still cut even up to taping right now. But, especially with Animal Kingdom, if you park further out, that's a haul, just like Animal Kingdom, to walk all the way up to the gate. I think this is long overdue.
I agree. I think it's pretty much a haul, any parking lot that you're in, with the exception of maybe Epcot if you're close to the front of the parking lot. But every other parking lot it's going to be a hassle and a long walk. Magic Kingdom for sure, because you're walking all the way to
TTC.
Where the monorail, the TTC. So that's a haul. Animal Kingdom's a haul. Hollywood Studios, depending on where you park, can be a haul. So, and if it's 90 degrees out and you're lugging your kids and a stroller, it's not fun. And I just don't understand why they delayed this and didn't bring it back right away. I mean, the crowds are there. It's not like, no one's using it. So I don't understand the mentality.
And you're not talking about that many more employees.
But
you know what I mean? I'm sorry.
At least they are bringing it back.
But it's
you're not.
It's how many people are you talking about? Well, I mean, I understand they say, well, we've cut services and it's lack of staffing, but not to jump around a little bit, but their quarterly earnings report just came out recently. They made $6.7 billion on parks and all that. So it's really hard for me to stomach that we can't take a handful of people and start running trams. I'm sorry. That's a tough pill for me to swallow.
Absolutely.
And for how much we all pay. And, whether you're an annual pass holder, or whether you're a DVC member, whether you're just a person going there once every couple of years, you're paying a lot of money. And if, like you said, if you don't have preferred parking or handicap parking, you're out in the boondocks. you're way out there. And to haul all the way up, and,
Right.
and think about it, it's been over 2 years now that these haven't been running. So, but it is good news.
Correct. And if you're not, and if you're not staying at a resort, or if you're not an annual pass holder, you're paying for that parking.
You're paying to walk.
So, that's another thing. You're paying for parking and you're walking. So again, you're running into that issue again of they're they just don't care.
No, unfortunately, the cuts just keep on coming, but the prices keep going up. So,
and the other thing that you wanted to mention was the Genie
I
Plus
know I'm going to
announcement
announce that, and then I know I want to turn it over to you because you have some Cosmic Rewind news. So yet again, lo and behold, Genie Plus, there are changes yet again coming. So Disney has now stated that starting June 8th, Disney's Genie Plus will no longer be available for advanced purchases at Walt Disney World. All guests will be able to purchase Disney's Genie Plus on the day of their visit via the My Disney Experience app, one day at a time, and it is subject to availability. So just another thing to add on to your list of things that you now have to do when you vacation at Walt Disney World. Because how everything used to be, it's just, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a job.
It's funny because
it's become a job.
Yeah.
So on vacation,
so
you gotta
real
work.
quick, I seen this tweet, and it's by a very popular. He's a YouTuber and very popular on social media. It's the let me pull it up here. DSNY newscast. So he tweeted, visiting Walt Disney World in 2022. 1, book a hotel room. 2, buy tickets. 3, book park reservation for tickets you already bought. 4, wake up early every day and buy Genie Plus at 7 a.m. Hope you get the desired lightning lanes. Then join a virtual queue at Epcot and Hollywood Studios, and then round it up by buying your individual lightning lanes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is your 7:00 a.m. experience at Walt Disney World. What do you want? Yeah,
that's just sad. That's just sad. It's just, for people that have been going there for a couple of decades to be where we're at now, it's hard to believe. If you had told me 10 years ago that this is where we would be at with park passes and park reservations, I would have told you there's no way that this would be sustainable for the company and people would revolt. And I'm just baffled that people are putting up with this crap. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So along the same lines of talking about the Genie Plus, I happened to read an article about Cosmic Rewind and how it's opening Memorial Day weekend, the 27th. And I saw where they're going to have a virtual queue, which with Rise of the Resistance was an absolute nightmare to get. Same scenario that we talked about in the last episode where you have to sit there at like 6:58 in the morning, and by as soon as it turns to 7 o'clock, you're hitting that button on your phone to try to get that. And if you literally like lose internet connection, or if you miss it by like a couple of seconds, you're not going to get it. And it really becomes like potluck. It's like almost like being at a casino almost, trying to hit the slot machine to try to get the winner. It's that in itself is a bummer for me. And then on top of it, what they've done is they've done the same thing, but with one little twist. So with Rise of the Resistance, you had 2 options to get it, or 2 opportunities: 7 a.m. and then you could get it again at 2 in the afternoon. The 7 a.m. you could be in your hotel room. The 2 in the afternoon you'd have to be at Hollywood Studios to get it. Well, now with Cosmic Rewind, they still do the 7 a.m. where you can get it, from your hotel room. But now it's 1 o'clock. So you say to yourself, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that you can now not park hop. So you have to be in Epcot at 1 o'clock. So you have to have an Epcot park reservation no matter what. So you can't really cheat. You can't go to Hollywood Studios in the morning and say, hey, I'll just jump over to Epcot at 2 o'clock and try to get the reservation for Cosmic Rewind. They don't let you do that. So they're limiting what you can do.
Fun.
Limiting your fun, so to speak. But limiting fun, and they're also making you pay as much as possible. So when I saw that, I just was really shocked by that, because it eliminates the ability to hop. You now are forced into Epcot early in the morning. And, again, it's one of those things that it's hard to believe that there's still
two things. Let me ask you this. One, there has been rumors, at least regarding annual pass holders, that Disney is in the works of bringing back traditional park hopping as it was pre-pandemic. Nothing's confirmed. It's just rumors coming out. If that rumor were to become true, then it alleviates a little bit, because then you'd have the ability to, park hop, but you still would have to have a park reservation. Well, no, not necessarily. Correct. I'm wrong, because if you were able to park hop, it wouldn't matter at that point. But what makes me think, though, Walt, that it's not true is in the recent quarterly earnings, Mr. Bob Chapek himself announced that the park reservation system is a huge success, and it's doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon. So, to me, if the park reservation system is going to stay, I don't know how traditional Fast Pass could return. I mean, do you see a way it could return? No, I don't either. I don't either.
No.
And
no.
Let me ask you this, because you're the big ride guy, much more than me. So, I've never done the virtual queue at Walt Disney World. Do you have to be on site, meaning at the property, or can you at least be staying in a resort, at Beach Club, Boardwalk, Pop Century, wherever, and join the virtual queue? How does that work? I don't remember. Okay.
No, yeah, you can do that. You can do that from your hotel room at 7 a.m. Yeah, you could do that anywhere as long as you're on property. Now, I don't think it works if you were staying at a resort, let's say, that maybe is, not a Disney resort, that's a little bit off property, like something that's down by by Disney Springs in that area. I don't know if you'd be able to do it there, but I know that if you're at a Disney hotel, you can definitely do a virtual queue at 7 in the morning.
But it is very disheartening, like you said, and I didn't even pick up on it. You did that. The original virtual queues were, first thing in the morning and then 2 p.m. And at 2 p.m. you could park hop. And now by moving it back that 1 hour, you have to have an Epcot. You're never going to get it. By the time you go at 2 o'clock and try to click into your virtual queue, you'll never get it. It's just really disappointing. And one other thing you brought up before we started taping today is that Epcot was always the park that had availability. Like if the other parks were starting to fill up, especially with this park reservation system, hey, at least I could plug in Epcot. I can get into a park, and then at least at 2 o'clock, I could use my pass and park hop somewhere else. But once Cosmic Rewind opens, I mean, you opened up the floodgates to Epcot. Epcot's going to be one of the biggest draws to try and get on this ride, because I don't know about you, most of what I saw so far from
Absolutely.
The vloggers, the popular Disney YouTubers, who had all the media so far, have said it's an incredible ride. I don't think I could do it because I have vertigo and motion sickness, so that turning is not gonna sit well with me. But so people are raving about it, and if they're raving about it, people are gonna flock to Epcot, and I think Epcot's now gonna become. It's just gonna get jammed up, and it's just gonna be another park now that fills up.
I agree. I think it's going to be a tough It wasn't a tough reservation before, and now it will be. And the thing is what they've done is they've eliminated. If you think about it, they've eliminated park hopping for Cosmic Rewind, because unless you can't get on it unless you're in the virtual queue. So I assume there's no standby, because that's how
Yeah, I believe
Rise
you're
of
right.
Resistance was initially when it first started. There was no standby. So I'm going to assume that there's no standby line, which means that an Epcot reservation in the morning is going to be impossible to get now, because everyone's going to want to go to Epcot. I think they purposely did that, if you think about it, because people do enjoy going to Epcot in the evening for dinner, and that would have been a nightmare for the restaurants, because you wouldn't have been able to get into Epcot, in the evening. So now you can still, park hop over there for dinner if you're not interested.
That's always been
Cosmic Rewind, but
go ahead. No, but that's what I was just going to say when you brought that up about the evening and the dining reservations. One of the things that I've always worried about since they've gone to the park reservation system is that Epcot is a place I like to dine at night. Le Cellier is one of my favorite restaurants on property. And not being able to, you get nervous because, okay, I got a Le Cellier dining for, say, 8 o'clock on one of the nights of my vacation. You're banking on that if you didn't get that park reservation, that at least you could park hop and get in there for your dining reservation. When traditional pass holders, before the pandemic, it didn't matter. You could make a reservation anywhere, because that was the whole point of the annual pass, is I could go to any one of those 4 parks at any time. And now it just seems like more of a struggle since they reopened, because, you have to bank on getting that reservation for the park in order to make sure that you could get into the park for your dining reservation. So it's just more stress. It's more added on stress for a vacation.
Correct. And then the gamble, as you brought up, is that if it's a really popular park that you're dining at, you may not get into it. So what do you do then? So now you have a restaurant that you can't go to. So it's, we could talk a long time about this. To me, it's one of the worst things that they've come up with. And there's a ton of them that are absolutely terrible, but this is one of them. The park reservation system just did not need to exist. Their theory might be because of controlling the crowds, but honestly, are they really controlling the crowds? Because people are still going to go regardless. At certain times, they just want to go on a particular ride. They're going to go no matter what. So I really don't see how this, really has an effect on crowd control. And to me, I think it's just a way for them to collect data on people's interests as far as what's, where the crowds are going and where they can make more money. I mean, unfortunately, everything in life now is based off of data-driven things. It's ruined a lot of sports, including my beloved baseball. and now it's ruining Disney as well with.
So let me ask you this, Walt, because it's been probably, I would say, 4 to 6 months since the last time Disney announced, what percentage they were open at. And I believe the last publicly known, and don't hold me to it, I believe the last publicly known was they were operating somewhere around 65 to 70% capacity. And they've never announced it again because I've watched other people and YouTubers and that. And like they've said, they've never come out again and announced, have they increased since that last time that they put that out there? And I would say they have to, because all the resorts are open now. Now, granted, that doesn't mean all the rooms are filled, but all the resorts are open now. Most of the stuff has come back. Not everything, but I know when you and I were there, it was busy. It was busy. And you see all this now, the wait times recently again, and it's I don't think it's that far off from pre-pandemic levels. I don't think we're that far off, Walt. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're that far off. And I think the numbers that they're skewing the numbers, to make it sound like they're not, at capacity. But I think I've seen days and now when we were there, they obviously were not at capacity. We would have noticed, but I've seen days where if they're not at capacity, they're within like a small percentage of being at capacity. And I think that they're definitely above 75%. Even when we were there, I thought they were above 75%, especially at Magic Kingdom. The day I was at Magic Kingdom was probably, I'm going to say, the top 2 or 3 of the busiest days I've seen at Magic Kingdom that I've been there. And that's excluding events like, like a Christmas party or a Halloween party or that sort of thing. But it was pretty packed, and the wait times were, again, see, here's where you run into this issue where you don't know really what the actual numbers are, because in the past you would have long wait times at the popular rides, but now what they've done is they've dispersed the crowds to rides that in the past no one would want to go on, or very few people would go on. So now people are forced onto these rides because they have to find something to do to kill time, to either wait for the lightning lane that they purchased to go on that ride, or they just are frustrated like I was, where you couldn't get on the things you wanted to get on. So now you're going on, Carousel Progress, which you probably wouldn't have gone on in the past, or you're going on, Transport Authority multiple times because Buzz Lightyear is an hour wait, so, I just, to your point, I just really don't think that, that they're being honest with the numbers right now. And, but again, it's good because obviously people are going for them anyway. But I just don't, I really think that they really need to at some point
I agree, and it's funny because, and I know we're going to move on in a second, but before the show we were talking about this topic, and not too long ago you could jump on the People Mover, and basically it was a walk-on, and right before the pandemic started, you really saw the line starting to build, where you had a 15-20 minute wait. And now, I mean, even since it's reopened and where you've gotten back to quote unquote normal capacity, it's packed again, Walt. I mean, so the crowds are definitely there, because I gauge a lot. And listen, I could be completely wrong, but when you're a Magic Kingdom, at least gauge your, how much people are in the park, almost based on the People Mover. Because you have a high crowd level at the People, in Magic Kingdom, the line, sometimes it takes me a half hour to get on the People Mover, where you used to be able to just walk on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's if you really think about it, this started like a couple of years ago when they had the fast pass system that they had, the old fast pass system, where you'd have to pick 3 rides. And if you remember, they were tiered. So you couldn't
Yes.
you couldn't cherry pick the 3 best rides. You had like a top tier for the better rides. You could pick one, and then you could pick a second and a third. And usually the second and third were rides that you really wouldn't have ever gone on. So now think about that. They started that with that, saw how that worked, and now they've morphed into where we're at today with the current system with the park
Genie Plus, Lightning Lane,
and Lightning Lane and Genie Plus. Yeah, because if you think about it, like you just brought up about the People Mover wasn't even if it was an option, people weren't picking it as their third choice. Normally, if say for example you were at Magic Kingdom, you would have a choice of one of the 3 mountains, and then after that you would have Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion on there, or Jungle Cruise. And you would pick one of those, and then the other one would be, you'd still be part of that same group. Well, now try going to Haunted Mansion, try going to Jungle Cruise, try going to Peter Pan. You're looking at an hour for all of these, and then you're going to tell me that we're only at 60% capacity.
Agreed.
That's impossible. So it's I don't know where this is going to change and get better. I'm trying to be optimistic and say, okay, it's going to change, it'll get better. But I really don't see it. I really don't. I agree. I think that they're going to, there's no way they're going to.
Well, in closing with this, I know we don't want to beat a dead horse. When I read in his quarterly earnings report, they not only, they said that, hey, the park reservation system we think is a huge success. We don't see it going anywhere. They made, I think it was $6.7 billion. Yes, that's B for billion. Then it was the park reservation system is also helping them with budgeting food and drinks and everything, because they know how many people are going to be in each park. So it's easier for them to budget and order food. They have more of a gauge on it now. Whether that's true or not, there's probably a part of it that's true. But for how much they make on food and everything else, you're still not selling it with me that it's a huge success, especially when all the people are complaining. However, just like you and I, we complain, but yet we go do it. And that's how they win every time.
Yeah, but as we talked about before the show, that for me personally, that's starting to change. And, I won't, my annual pass expires in August, and I will not be renewing my annual pass. And I think there's a lot of people that I talk to that have done the same thing. And eventually, I mean, it may take a while, but eventually I think a lot of people are going to be going that route. Now, do I think that they care? I don't think so. I think that's actually a strategy for them. I think they want people to give up their annual passes because they actually stand to make more money by having me go there and having to pay, an escalated price for a 3 or 4 day hopper pass, and then having to pay for Lightning Lane and pay for everything else. So when you look at it, I think they want to do away with the annual pass because it goes to the controlling of crowds and, how they can monetize that. And I think statistically, I think they realize that annual pass holders are kind of holding them up from doing all of these other
Agreed.
things that they have coming down the road eventually. I honestly believe that eventually we're going to have to wear oxygen packs, and they're going to
that might happen, Walt. Don't say that too loud.
Yeah, that's the next
That's
step.
true.
I mean, what else can they?
Well, like in that movie Spaceballs,
make money on.
They'll sell the can of air. You'll buy a can and you'll get to breathe the air in. Disney Oxygen for $12.99.
Exactly.
So, all right. Before we head over to our California Grill review, I know we discussed it a couple episodes ago. From our recent trip, you took advantage of what used to be the extra magic hours that were free. If you stay at a deluxe resort with Disney on select days, they offer, I believe it's called late night or it's extra late night or however they phrase it now. And you took advantage of that because you stayed over at Beach Club. And correct me if I'm wrong, one night was Epcot and then one night was Hollywood Studios, right?
Correct.
No, they don't.
And by the way, they don't advertise this. So you have to if you just happen to stay there and not pay attention, you would never even know it. So I happened to notice it on the resort. The room TV had a little blurb about it, but I happened to notice it on my Disney Experience app when I was looking at the park times. But again, no one told me that. No one at the front desk told me that when I checked in. That by the way, you can take advantage of these 2 late nights. So again, it's in the past you would get that
yes,
when you checked in, you'd get that little folder that they gave you with the park times, and that would be in there. That by the way, you can take advantage of this night or that night. Not anymore. But to answer your question, I did take advantage of those 2 nights. They were, not really that crowded at those 2 particular nights. Hollywood Studios was outstanding because we got in there at about 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock. And we went to Slinky and waited about a half an hour to get on to Slinky. And then after that, once the park started to thin out, we basically did every ride, every popular ride. And we did Rise of the Resistance. We did Mickey's Runaway Railway. We did Slinky again. So we ended up doing it twice. Wow. We did Toy Story Mania 3 times. And had I not gone on Toy Story Mania 3 times, I would have been able to get over to Rock and Roller Coaster and probably Tower of Terror and get that in. So within 2.5 hours, we basically did every ride that would have taken us probably 6 or 7 hours during the day to do, or cost us a fortune with Lightning Lane. And then over at Epcot, we were able to do, we didn't do Ratatouille. Because I just didn't really want to go over there. Not one of my favorites to begin with, but we did Frozen. My wife likes that ride. Okay. And then we went over and did Test Track. And we could have gone on Soaring, but we've done Soaring so many times.
How about my Grand Fiesta Tour?
Took a pass on that. Grand Fiesta Tour was open,
I always like that
and
one.
we did do that as well, so that was fun. But I can tell you that to stay at a deluxe is expensive, but that is at least one perk that still exists. For how long, God only knows, because eventually they'll realize that we could take this away from these people too. So who knows? But right now, I would say that at least if you do stay at one of those resorts, you will get, depending on the days of the week that you stay there, you will get two parks usually. And
so let me ask you this, Walt, real quick. With both Studios and Epcot, how was, once the people left who didn't have the late night availability, how was the crowd? How was the crowd levels?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good.
Very light.
It's very good.
It was thin. Yeah. Yeah, both parks was thin. I mean, Hollywood Studios was very, very thin, like almost like the kind of crowds that you would see back in the ancient days, when you could actually
I miss those
stay
days.
in the park until 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. That's how thin it was. Sorry. That's how thin it was. Yeah, I miss those days too. It's
unfortunately,
I don't think we'll ever see that again. So.
All right. So that's good though, because I was curious, and we wanted to talk about it on the show, and you and I have not really talked about your 2 late nights since we returned, and I've only taken advantage of it once. We were in Hollywood Studios, and it wasn't busy, and that was back in our January trip. But I wanted to get your take on it because, real quick, and wrapping this up, it's just like what we talked about before the show. It's just sad to see that. Let's face it. It's extra magic at a price tag, because you're spending $500, $600, $700 a night now to stay at a deluxe resort, and they're giving you the 2 extra hours. But the people who can't afford that, or the people who just don't want to stay at, there's people out there who can afford it but love to stay at Pop Century and love to stay at Art of Animation or Caribbean, like a moderate, because they like it. They're not. They look at it as, well, I don't need to spend all that money on a room. All I do is sleep there. But they can't take advantage of that because they're not spending $700 a night on a room. And that's what bothers me, is this is something that used to be free to everyone, no matter where you stayed, as long as you stayed at one of their resorts. But it's the world we now live in. I
agree.
So, all right. So before we wrap up this show, when we were on our most recent trip, Walter and I and our families, we dined at several locations. And in this week's episode, we decided to do a review on the California Grill, which, if you don't know, is located at the top of Disney's Contemporary Resort. Before we jump into what we thought of our most recent dining experience there, we put together a quick video. So if you're watching us over on YouTube, we're going to bring that up right now. Walt, I think we're going to have to play it again. I forgot. So for all yous out there, and then we were sitting there watching it, I could see it, but Walt, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you saw it. Okay. So I apologize. I forgot to hit the live button. We'll start that over. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you're watching us over on YouTube, here is a little video we put together of the California Grill. Look at those 2 handsome devils.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Walt, let me ask you, because
I look a lot better there than I do now.
Oh, stop. So let me ask you, I know you've eaten there a lot more than me. I've eaten there several times. I know this is on your top tier list, the California Grill. So let me ask you first, what was your thoughts on our most recent experience?
I enjoyed the meal. It was very good. One of the things that we should mention is that it is a prefix menu. In the past, it never was, but because of the 50th anniversary, they've started this prefix menu. I think it's probably been like close to a year now that they've had it. The selections are pretty much the same as they were before. There's a few things that are slightly different, but you get to choose an appetizer. We had the wontons. I think your wife had the Cascade roll, I believe it was called. It was the sushi rolls. And then you pick an entree and a dessert. Overall, I would say that my meal, if I were going from a 1 to 10, I would say it was a 7. It might sound like, I didn't enjoy the meal. I did. The only thing I will say is that the dessert part, which I probably wouldn't have gotten if it weren't a prefix menu, was a slightly disappointing. Those lavender donuts that you saw there in the video were a little bit dry, but the rest of the meal was very good. I had the filet, which again it was very good, but doesn't crack my top 3 on property for the filet. And what was did you get the pork tenderloin?
No, I got the filet as well. Yes, I had the filet as well.
So I think it was either my
yes.
It was either my wife or my mother-in-law that got the pork
I believe it was your wife.
Sure.
I had the filet as well. Actually, and I started off, because I want to get to it, I started off like with you with the wontons, and my wife was shocked because I don't eat them, but I did try them because, like you said, prefix menu. And slam dunk, Walt. I loved the wontons. Actually, everything we had at California Grill that night, the wontons were hands down my favorite. Like you, I had the filet mignon, and I will reiterate with what you said. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it is not. For right now, I was a little disappointed for California Grill. It was not a top 3 either of mine for fillets on property. So I was a little disappointed there. What you saw in the picture, and my apologies, but I don't know exactly what it was called. I don't have the menu in front of me, but I had that chocolate cake, and that cake was phenomenal as well. So I had a great appetizer, great dessert. My entree was fair. It wasn't bad. If I had to rate it,
your cake was called the
chocolate torte. Okay, so the chocolate torte I had, and it was excellent. So, I'll reiterate once more: the wontons, slam dunk. If you're going, absolutely try them. The cake was excellent as well, and like I said, the filet. I agree with Walter. It was average. Nothing to write home about. Like he said, I know we've done 1 through 5 before, but we're going to go 1 through 10. I'll go with 7 too. I think a 7 is very fair. We were, though, I will mention, we were there. We were able to, Walter was able to obtain reservations, and we were able to see the new fireworks show, Enchantment, from the observation deck. Thought it was very good. I still have yet to see it in person in Magic Kingdom. But I never knew it existed because the multiple times that I've eaten there, we've always been able to see Magic Kingdom. And for a lot of you people, you may not know this. If you go all the way to the back end of California Grill, there's a small area. And it's still glass, but you cannot see Magic Kingdom. You actually get to see over Bay Lake and Epcot. So we got a different perspective of California Grill. We got to see Epcot. We got to see some of those fireworks go off as well, and the light shows on Epcot as well. So that was pretty cool. That was a totally different experience. But, Walt, I'm with you. A little disappointed in the entree, but California Grill, I will give a 7 to. Oh, and just remember, with the prefix menu at California Grill, you were also able to keep your menu as a memento. So you take the menus home with you as well. So,
yes.
But yeah, that was a nice touch.
Yeah, that was a nice.
Yep.
It was a nice touch. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think you had a conversation with someone on the wait staff there, I believe, at California Grill that gave you some interesting.
No, that was actually, we'll
tidbits
save
of
it for the
information.
next one. That was actually, we have a good tidbit for flying fish. Yes. Yes. So probably in
okay.
our
I'm
next
sorry. I
episode,
thought
it will
was the
be, we have a
California
nice
Grill. I
tidbit that most
apologize.
people may have wondered, but we actually got an answer to for something inside the flying fish that we ate there as well. And we'll be reviewing that real soon. But yeah, well, I mean, any other thing you want to talk about with California Grill before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I think, like I said, I would recommend it. It's a very nice dinner that, it's not overly expensive now that it is a prefix menu. It's just it's a really classy restaurant. You could say it could be a special occasion restaurant. In this case, it was, because it was a birthday. But even if you're not celebrating a special occasion, it's still a nice evening out for you and your significant other. To enjoy the view, enjoy the fireworks if you time it right.
You know what? Before we close, Walt, I just want to, and I think you'll agree with me, the wait staff and the entire staff at California Grill was hands down, and I just want to applaud them because you and I are very honest, and we'll rip Disney when we think they're bad, and when we don't agree with them, and we'll absolutely, give them all the props in the world. And again, everyone at California Grill was the service was exceptional. So.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I agree.
All right. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up. What do you say?
Absolutely. It was a very informative.
Absolutely. I had a blast as always, Walt. So, all right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the Disney Resorts podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. For Walt Ramirez, I'm Kenny Hayes. Take care, everybody.